Superworms are remarkably easy feeders to find at pet stores and online. Have you ever wanted to breed your own superworms and save yourself a lot of trips to the pet store or several online purchases? Well, today I'm going to try and show you how I've decided to breed my superworms. This is my very first try, and most of the information I've gotten off of Google and from other people who breed superworms. So if you guys have any other ideas, tips, or tricks on how I can make this setup better, please let me know in the comments. I'm always willing to learn. First, let's go over some of the things you will need to breed your superworms. The very first thing you'll need is a place to house your superworms, and I've decided to use a plastic bin that I got at Target for like $8. It's sort of deep, it has a lot of surface area, ground space. Inside you need bedding, so I've decided to use oatmeal, like rolled oats. This is a nutritious substrate, and it will allow the superworms to eat it. They will also enjoy burrowing into the substrate, and you will most likely find them all at the bottom of the cage. To give your adult superworms or beetles a place to hang out rather than being under the substrate all the time, you're going to want some egg crate, the same kind I use for my roaches. Sometimes the superworms will hang out there too. The beetles like to hang out on them, and it keeps them from being around your superworms and maybe eating them. The second container you will need is a smaller one, which I just used as a Tupperware container, to put your third stage of superworm life, your pupa, in, to keep them safe from beetles and superworms who might want to munch on them. And they're just in there. I actually keep it inside here, just on top of the substrate, but they're protected from the superworms and beetles. And last but not least, the smallest container you will need is something to put your superworm larvae in, so that they will feel comfortable enough to turn into pupa. This can be film canisters like I have, or tackle boxes with the little drawers, the little cubicle thingies in it. Anything small and dark and easy to close up and keep them in. Food for your superworms will consist of the substrate you use, which will be like oatmeal or wheat brine or something like that, and something for moisture, which would be like carrots, any kind of veggies like that have high moisture content, like oranges or even potatoes, which I have in here. You want to keep your vegetables, your moisture, on top of the substrate. You don't want it underneath, because you want the substrate to stay dry. If it becomes wet, it can mold and mess up your whole colony and get everything sick. So you don't want that to happen. You're going to want a lid that I will eventually drill holes in for airflow that will not allow anything to escape. Superworms and the beetles can't really climb, but if they could, then this would stop them. Superworms come in 4 life types, life stages. The first is the egg, which I don't have yet, so the second is the larvae. Also consider the superworm and the thing that most of your reptiles will eat readily and excitedly. That is the goal of what we want to accomplish with our colony. The third stage is the pupa, and it is what the larvae turn into. They will move, so if you pick them up and they flail around, don't freak out. A lot of people call them little aliens, and for good reason. Welcome to Earth, little guy. These are what you keep in the smaller Tupperware box to protect them from hungry worms and hungry beetles. The fourth and final stage of the superworm life cycle is the beetle, and they come from the pupa, and they lay the eggs, which turn into superworms. Beetles don't really bite, but they do smell if they get startled, and they can smell musky and annoying. They're not my favorite, but I'm assuming they can also be eaten by your animals, and I might feed Maxwell one if I didn't have so few of them. So here's how you get from superworm to beetle. After you have all the necessary things to make your superworm's environment, the first thing you want to do is buy some superworms. Get them at the pet store or get a bunch of them online at once. And then you're going to want to pick out a particularly large larvae and get your film canister or drawer or small container and put them inside. Also, to encourage airflow of some sort, you're going to want to make a vent hole. I used a drill and drilled little hole in this film canister's cap, and then you close it. You store these in a dark, warm place for about 10 days to 2 weeks, and you will eventually get one of these. A very new superworm pupa. I'll just add this to the other pupa, and after about, again, a week to 10 days, you want to look around and see if any pupa has developed into a beetle. If their legs, I have read, if their legs are kind of dark, it means that they're about to emerge into a beetle. So I don't see any beetles in here. When they do emerge into a beetle, they're bright white, kind of cream colored, and they're very, ouch, they're very sharp. They're very fragile, so you want to be careful with your beetles. I don't see any beetle, soon-to-be beetle pupa in here, but that is okay, because we have plenty of beetles in here. Not plenty, we have a couple. So hopefully those pupa will grow up to become breeding beetles. And now that this container is empty, we can put a new superworm in it and continue to make beetles. Eventually those beetles will lay eggs in the substrate, and then eventually new little superworms will come out, and they will hopefully populate this area. What's really important is to make sure you change this stuff out every day, because it will rot if you don't. And beetles love moisture, and if they don't get it from these vegetables, they will get it from their eggs and from their larvae. So you don't want them eating your superworms. So make sure you kind of change this out every day. It's not that hard. You can just use leftover veggies that you don't eat, or that your animals don't eat. Other than that, I put my egg crate in here, and I put this box in the corner because they like to hide under it. Put my lid slightly on. I don't really close it because they can't climb out really. And I put it in the corner, and hopefully things will happen. So here we go. Good luck to us, and I will keep updating you guys. Have a wonderful day, and I hope this was an insightful video. Please like and subscribe for more content like this, and hopefully you guys might have some cool comments from me. Please leave one in the comment section if you have any other ideas or concerns or questions. I love to answer questions. Have a wonderful day, everybody. The first is the superworm, and is considered the larvae. It comes out of the egg, and this is what we this is what we typically feed our bearded dragon lizards, not our fingers. Oh my goodness.